Now, I can be the kind of person that can beat myself up for something. Anyone like me? I don't need anyone to come and tell me how wrong I did of the thing that I did. I am perfectly good at doing that all by myself. When I yell at my kids or miss an appointment or make a mistake or snap at my husband or do something embarrassing, I will find a way to think about it and then overthink about it and then think about it again and then I'll mull it over some more and then I'll probably journal about it, talk to my therapist and my husband about it. Of course, I will feel guilty about it. So today, I want to talk about how to let go of the stuff that you did. So there's really just two categories of the stuff that we did. Number one is the stuff that we do to ourselves. And number two is the stuff that we have done to other people. I want to start the first one, the stuff that we've done to ourselves. Things like embarrassment and failures and mistakes, setbacks and guilt and shame. So what's the stuff that you have done to yourself? Paul in the Bible, in the book of Romans, he puts it this way. I love it. He says, I don't understand what I do, for I do not do what I want to do, but I do what I hate to do. The stuff that we do to ourselves. It's the stuff that makes us feel ashamed and guilty. We find ourselves self-sabotaging and we hide. Sometimes we even deceive and lie to ourselves. We tell ourselves, we make excuses for why we did the things that we did. Sometimes we isolate. We want to just sort of deal with it all on our own because that shame is kind of coming in and creeping in and causing fear. We let our habits and our hang-ups run wild and we get addicted to things and we numb ourselves. We start to replay those things over and over our head, usually like when we're driving or at the most inopportune time or at 3 a.m, our brain wakes us up and says, oh, do you remember that horrible thing you did when you were in 3rd grade? We have to rethink about that now. I wonder how that teacher is doing now. And we have to replay it over and over again. We beat ourselves up over every little thing. How on earth will we ever let those things go? But then there's number two, the stuff that we did to others. So many of us are carrying things in our lives of things that we feel ashamed about that we did to others. Times that we gossiped or betrayed or lied. Times that we gaslit or abused them or embarrassed them. Times that we hurt others in our lives and we carry those burdens with us. I mean, some of it was an accident. But if we're really honest, some of it we did on purpose. And now today we feel awful and ashamed about it. 5 years ago, I convinced my daughter Mackenzie to let me borrow her pet bunny to use for an Easter children's message. I really had to convince her. She didn't think it was a good idea to let me use her rabbit. And I was like, oh my gosh, Mackenzie, this rabbit is going to be the cutest thing you've ever seen when we use it for the children's message. And so finally, I bribed her. I gave her a gift card to Target or something so that I could use her pet bunny in the children's message service. So it was Easter Sunday. I had the bunny all in a little basket back in the sacristy. And when it came time for the children's message, I had all the kids gathered there and I went out and I took out this perfect little white fluffy bunny. And I made this analogy on the purity of bunny and spring and Jesus. It was awesome. It was the best children's message I think I've ever done. The kids all pet the bunny. Everybody was over the moon. All the parents and grandparents came up to me after church and they took pictures with the bunny and it was just this awesome Sunday morning. They thanked me so much. The next day, my kids went to school and I had the day after Easter Sunday off. And so I went to go check on the bunny. And there it was in its cage, dead as a doornail, stone cold dead. That's right. I killed my daughter's pet. I killed the Easter bunny. I did a Google search after that, and I didn't realize that a bunny can all of a sudden die up to 48 hours after a sudden stressful event. So I didn't know that. Obviously, somebody has learned that along the way. But what happened was that the mom guilt flooded over me. I mean, I convinced and paid my daughter to let me use her bunny against her good judgment. And I had to go and tell Mackenzie that I had killed her pet. It's taken me a long time to tell that story because there's a lot of days I still feel guilty about it. And if you're judging me now, I think that's fair. I'm going to go ahead and take that from you. But we've all had the things in our lives, those things that were awful that we did, that we now regret. things like when those words came out of your mouth and you didn't really mean them, but maybe you did, but now you wish you could take them back because you really hurt somebody else. Or maybe it was that website that you promised yourself that you weren't going to visit anymore, but it just seems to keep drawing you back again, and you just find yourself hoping that you don't get caught. Or maybe it's that last drink that you shouldn't have had, that you snuck that little extra nip, and now the argument and the details of last night are fuzzy, and you're finding yourself making the same promises to yourself and your family again. Or maybe it's when you and your spouse were experiencing some distance in your relationship, and instead of turning towards each other, you turned away. Or maybe you missed your kid's childhood because you were trying so hard to be a good provider, and you worked really hard, but then all of a sudden the years were by, and there's this distance that exists between the two of you. So how do we let these things that we have done, the things we did to ourselves and the things we did to others, how do we let those go? Well, I tell you what, I think it's two-part. The first one is that we confess. We speak it out loud. We speak it out loud, whether it's to God or to another person, because what happens when we speak it out loud is that we're taking it out of the dark and we're putting it in the light. We're taking it out of hiding so that it can't have control over us anymore. And then number two, I think we have to realize that God has already let it go. That God has already let go of that thing that you are still holding on to. I think the Bible is all summed up in this one verse in 2 Corinthians. If anyone is in Christ, they are a new person. The old life is gone. Those things that we're beating ourselves up for God, it's gone. Through the work of Jesus Christ, it's erased and wiped clean. So here's my question for you today. Is why are you holding on to something that God isn't? Maybe it's time for you to let it go.